Hello, everybody. So, did Hims just win the Super Bowl? It sure feels like it. If you're a Hims investor, we are still at 52-week highs. We continue a price discovery. We've broke the $45 price, and so Hims for me is nearing a 10x territory. As soon as we're going to get into the high 50s, it's going to be there. So, this has been an amazing stock to own. It seems like the media is happy because the media has found a new company to bash. You're welcome, Tesla. You're welcome, Supermicro. They are now happy to start criticizing and bashing Hims with apparently some lawmaker, some I don't know, Democratic lawmaker or something from California is upset, etc. And apparently the $100 billion plus weight loss industry is not happy, and apparently someone reported. They reported Hims to the FDA for missing mentions of side effects. Expect, of course, and this is a marketing innovation if you ask me, they've kind of redesigned how a drug company advertises for drugs. They're advertising for a service. They didn't mention a specific drug, so I expect that this will lead to nowhere because they did not mention a specific drug, and it's kind of, silly to assume that they're specifically referring to GLP-1s when metformin is a very popular weight loss drug and a big part of what they prescribe, and metformin has been around for, 7 decades or something like that. So it's not just a GLP-1 story. In fact, some people, if you have mild weight loss that you need, you likely won't be prescribed GLP-1s because Hims, of course, goes through providers. There's a medical visit. There's a medical provider before you get prescribed the product. I also want to point out some of these advertisings are very quick to say, oh, Hims is trying to push $1,900, $1,800 stories. The Daily Mail especially says that in there. No, they are not, right? It's a limited quantity. There's a reason why you can try to get it, but you can't get started. You can just see supply information. And the whole point of Hims is that they do compounded semaglutide. Why? Because it's in shortage, right? These drugs are patented drugs, but as far as Ozempic goes, it's still in shortage. And Wegovy, which Hims has never sold a compounded for, right? Tirzepatide, they've never sold a compounded for. This one is maybe in shortage, maybe not. There's a lawsuit from the compounder, so it's a mess right now. We don't really know. So the media found a new company to bash, and I expect the news cycle to do what it does. But it seems like, and this is better, it seems like a lot of customers have discovered Hims and Hers. If you type the top apps on the iPhone, on Google, a quick search shows you that Hers actually just became bigger than Hims. I've never seen this in years of covering Hims. I've never seen Hers outrank Hims in the App Store. It seems like a lot of women were very interested in the Hims ad. That's the only explanation I can have for it being, on top of Hims. Usually, Hims is far ahead in all of the rankings. It has to do with the history of the company and the ED pill focus of the company, but now it seems like Hers is ahead. So this is a big deal in my view. So let's talk about the Super Bowl ad really briefly again. They seem to have spent about $16 million on the ad. So how much are we paying for a pair of eyes here? So the last Super Bowl, you had 123 million Americans watch it. That was roughly 13 cents per pair of eyes. Is that a deal? Well, if 74 of Americans are overweight, as the ad claims, that's 17.5 cents per potential lead. There's Hims made itself known to a potential customer for 17.5 cents per potential customer. This beats any online advertising. If you have any experience with online advertising, pay-per-click, all of that sort of stuff, those clicks usually go for $1 or $1.50 or something like that. This is 17 cents. So this is much cheaper. As much as this is an analog way to do business and to advertise, this is still much cheaper for Hims, and the ad must have looked very compelling if someone is a little overweight on a third Bud Light, right, a diet beer, and the second round of Tostitos. I'm making a joke here, but you know what I mean, is because people eat a lot during the Super Bowl. Another thing I want to say is And again, half of my viewers are American, so half of my viewers know this. But my other half of my viewers who are in Europe, well, you may not know this. Many watch the Super Bowl just for the ads. Like you have a lot of people who just want to see the ads, and I would argue, especially women, just want to see the ads. And so when someone just wants to watch the game, you have people who want to watch the ads, and you even have, a lot of these advertisers, they put the ads together, and you can log into the website and watch all of the Super Bowl ads. Oh, see the top 10 most Super Bowl ads. See this. As people log in to watch the ads, it's a culture in and out of itself. And because of that, I really believe those numbers. Maybe not 17, but they likely paid less than 20 cents per lead. So to me, that is a very good value that they did here. It's a good investment. So is the stock still cheap at $45 a share? Well, again, like as I said in my prior videos of HIMS, last quarter, Q3, we saw an acceleration in sales. How many companies do you see actually accelerating growth? We saw an acceleration in sales. They're going to report Q4 in February 24, 2025, so in about 2 weeks exactly. I expect that I will not be able to no longer say the weight loss is only 10% of the sales. I expect weight loss to be higher than 10% of the sales in Q4. We may see another inflection up for the stock. We may see revenue growth taking another up inflection and growing even faster. And so, is the stock still cheap? Well, it's not as cheap as it once was, but I think we have to take into account that there's a lot of de-risking that has happened recently. The big delisting is with the new administration. I don't know what happened, but compounders of tirzepatide, they were supposed to have stopped, and they've been successful at continuing to be able to sell compounded tirzepatide during the duration of their lawsuits. And these lawsuits last forever. You can assume there's all sort of filibustering going on with a lawsuit. The lawsuit may take 2 years, 3 years, and they've been successful at removing the stop sell order from the FDA. And so they're now doing all of these investigations, figuring out whether tirzepatide is actually in shortage or not. Now, this is not something we have to worry for HIMS, because HIMS doesn't sell tirzepatide here. HIMS sells semaglutide, and semaglutide is still in shortage. But I assume that if semaglutide ever shows up as not in shortage on the FDA website, then you would still have 3 to 4 months for the compounding to stop, which is the standard rules of the FDA. And in that time, you would likely have a lawsuit from the compounders, just like for tirzepatide. And of course, at the risk of being called capricious, they would have to also say, during the duration of the lawsuit, you can keep selling. That's why I think there's a lot of de-risking. We also know, I'm speculating here, but this is also one thing. We also know that Trump is serious about Greenland, and Trump appears to be dealing with countries of Europe as countries and not as the EU. And so they may go after Denmark. And of course, the biggest company in Denmark and the biggest company in Europe is Ozempic, is Novo, and Ozempic is the blockbuster drug out of Europe. So, it's possible that semaglutide may not get the most favorable treatment in a negotiation. This would benefit HIMS, because HIMS, of course, sells a compounded version of this drug, unrelated to the administration. They sell it because it's in a shortage, like I said. So let me conclude with valuation really briefly. Again, so right now it's a 0.17. It is still cheap. It is still under 0.2. It's not as cheap as it once was. Note how LifeMD, and this has been frustrating because this is a position that I was building. Note how LifeMD has also gone up on the news. LifeMD looks like the valuation that HIMS once was, and HIMS now is growing into its valuation. I would consider a 0.3 to be fair for HIMS on this, to be still on the cheap side, but to be fair. So as far as multiple expansion, I think we still have some multiple expansion. The market is still finding that the stock is cheap. But of course, what matters is the revenue growth, right? If revenue growth grows, let's say 100%, let's say, after the successful Super Bowl ad and the weight loss product, if revenue growth grows by 100% and the price to revenue, the price to sales remains constant, then your investment, assuming no compression in the ratio, should equal the growth rate. That's the way I think about it. And sure enough, ever since I started looking at this company a little more closely, it's been averaging something like more than 80%, 81% average annual return. Even if you go back to 2019, the day where the SPAC of thesis was created, you're still at 30% annual return. So you're still at like double the NASDAQ. So this stock has been a winner. I've been very happy to own it. I am glad to see them likely. We'll know in Q4. We'll know by the end of February, but I'm glad to see them winning the Super Bowl. This was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is just entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on X, follow me on Patreon. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful day.